So you've heard of the nice guy syndrome and why nice guys finish last. So what's the female equivalent of the nice guy syndrome? And is she as nasty and sinister as the manipulating as the nice guy? Or is she the helpless damsel in distress? Let's find out. And welcome to the Nice Guy Show. I'm your host, Faisal Kokar, and I'm joined with Ari Graf and Chuck Chapman. And we are nice guy recovery experts, masculinity experts, and also about dating and relationships. Now, let me just read out some traits of the nice guy syndrome. And this is from the book No One Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Glover. Now, I'm going to read out a few of them, 5 of them. So the first one is dishonest. He hides his mistakes, avoids conflict, and represses his feelings. Manipulative. So number 2, struggles to express needs directly, leading to manipulation to meet their needs. Number 3 is controlling. Aims to keep the world smooth, often attempting to control others and situations. Next one, passive aggressive. Indirectly expresses frustration and resentment through behaviors like being unavailable or not following through. And the last one is relationship problems. So nice guys usually struggle in intimate relationships, often due to poor listening, fear of conflict, and tendencies to view partners as projects. Now, when I was doing some research on, what's the female version of this, the equivalent, I was a little bit shocked and I guess very disappointed because the female version of this, and there is some articles and posts about the people pleasing, the nice girl syndrome, the good girl, and here's the list. So the 5 traits of the nice girl syndrome, right? People pleasing, which is kind of similar to the nice guy one, right? Constantly seeking approval and validation, often at the expense of their own needs and desires. Fear of conflict, avoids disagreement and confrontation, leading to suppressed emotions and unresolved issues. Okay, so over accommodating. Number 3, goes out of her way to make others comfortable, often neglecting her own well-being and needs. So number 4, self-sacrifice. She puts others' needs ahead of her own, resulting in burnout and resentment. And number 5, low self-worth. She struggles with low self-esteem, often feeling unworthy, useless, and also, helplessness. Now, what I was really, disappointed or shocked at, it's a lot of the version for the female had a lot of lacked accountability. And when you looked at the nice guy syndrome, it talks with dishonesty, it talks about manipulation, it talks about controlling. It's always about how they're showing up. Now, the female version of it wasn't very much about how she's showing up, it's how the world is showing up around her. Very much more of a, hey, I'm the helpless, the victim. Now, when you take away whether it's a nice guy syndrome or the good girl syndrome or something, these are just human behaviors. So let's open this up, and I want to hear what Chuck and Ari say. So Ari, what's the equivalent of the nice girl syndrome or nice guy syndrome in your eyes?
Yeah, I usually call it the good girl. I mean, there's different labels for it, but it's very similar to nice guy syndrome. And when I think about like women that I've dated or worked with who were good girls or nice girls, it gives me it kind of reflects back to me some of how I must affect other people, or my nice guy version of myself affects other people, because I think those nice girl behaviors get to be so annoying. The people pleasing, the not really being open about what they want and need, not being clear about what gives them pleasure, whether that's just things they like to do and they're always deferring to you, or in the bedroom, not knowing what they like. Those are all things that I think drive women crazy about nice guys, and they drive me crazy when I'm dealing with a good girl. And I think there's also that piece of the resentment building up, because I've seen that in some of the women that fit this personality type, is that it can have a victim puke quality, just like a nice guy.
So all the resentment builds up, and then one day she's like, wow, vomits everything out. like what nice
Yeah.
guys do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We call that the victim puke.
the victim puke. So, Chuck, um, have you ever been with a nice girl?
My wife is definitely a nice girl, and she'll admit it. I think that's she when she first read No More Mr. Nice Guy, she's like, "This is me written all over the pages," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know." I one of the things I do is I assist Dr. Glover in answering his emails. So if you sent an email to Dr. Glover, you'd probably get an answer from me. And we get emails, or he gets emails all the time from women asking, is there a female version of this? Because I read this and I relate to it as well. And I think the thing to kind of understand is that the nice guy syndrome or the nice girl syndrome isn't necessarily related to a gender, but it is a human thing. And essentially it breaks down into codependency plus anxiety equals the nice guy syndrome or the nice girl syndrome. And so the nice guy book, what Robert did beautifully was he took the codependency and anxiety and he labeled them together as the nice guy syndrome. And he wrote it towards men because that's who he worked with. But it absolutely applies to women as well. And I think that the distinction then is that, our own insecurities, our own need to be validated, our own need to, not want to make other people upset. Those are all kind of like codependent behaviors. And then when you throw on anxiety on top of that, then there's this continuous fear that goes along with it, that I'm not good enough, that I'm not acceptable, that I'm not lovable, all those kind of things. So I think that there's just as many nice girls as there are nice guys. I could have easily wrote the book No More Mr. Nice People, but I don't think it would have done as well on the bookstore.
No, it's true. It's true. And when you go through the traits, they are very much genderless. The thing I would say I was kind of like dismayed about was the fact that when you looked up when you read the No More Mr. Nice Guy and you're thinking, heck, there is so much wrong with me, and there's a lot of shame that comes up and guilt comes up, like you find out I'm dishonest, manipulative, have all of these traits. And when you read the same thing, and if women were reading the same thing about their behavior and people pleasing as well, what I noticed was there wasn't much in the terms of accountability. Whereas when you read the book, No More Mr. Nice Guy, it's all about accountability, right? You got to it's you. It starts with you. But when you go on the internet and social media, there isn't much thing about the people pleasing, about accountability. So what are your take on that?
I think that it's there's a book called No More Mr. Nice Guy, and I think that drives a lot of the information because it's written to men read it and they go, oh gosh, this is me, right? And then it's kind of promoted either through coaching or podcasts or and I just don't think there's quite as much out there about the nice guy, or excuse me, the nice girl syndrome. And so but it also makes sense in terms of kind of like the masculine feminine energy, right? Because lower feminine energy is that, this is happening to me, this is happening, and there's kind of that victim mentality, and so I think that nice guys typically fall into lower feminine energy, and nice girls also fall into lower feminine energy. So it's really about these energies, these negative energies or positive energies, how that shows up in our behaviors.
Ari, what's your take on that?
I agree with what Chuck is saying. One of the things that came up for me was that being a good girl, nice girl, you could still attract a high value man that way. Whereas if you're a nice guy, I think it's much more difficult to attract a high value woman, because women are wanting a high value woman's going to want a man who is bold, who's confident, who's assertive, who has which is not a nice guy. But a nice girl based on her appearance could still get a high value man. Would you agree with that?
So that was one of the biggest distinctions I wanted to make, was that, if you're a nice guy and you got the nice guy syndrome, there is no way you're gonna land yourself with very attractive women. One, you're gonna land yourself with more women on the same level as you, as in psychologically and wound wise, because you're going to attract like attracts like. So when it comes to sexual attraction, the girl doesn't have to be confident. She doesn't have to be decisive. She doesn't have to lead. For her to attract guys, is that she has to be attractive. That's the first point of call, is like physically attractive. And that's the difference between the guys. Whereas the guys need to demonstrate a lot of character traits in order to attract women. So they have to be quite active, masculine. The nice guys are usually quite passive, so they won't really go out, connect with women, be sociable. So where it comes for women, she can be a nice girl and still be able to attract. Now, when you said about high value, I don't. Even though the girl can still get the high value man, I don't. What I see is, I doubt it if he will commit to her, because usually high value men have a lot of options. And when they have a lot of options, they will have a lot of more standards, and their tolerance for bad behavior. So, for example, poor communication skills, passive aggressive, avoiding of conflict, that will really grate on him. So if he has a lot of options on that front, and usually what's happening, especially now in the dating world, is 20% of the cream is going, is rising, and all the 20% of the guys are having 80% of the women. They're having so many options. So his ability to wanting to commit to a woman, that really reduces. And I think that's one of the biggest struggles that women have, is not they can get the guy, but how do I get him to commit to me? That's their biggest struggle.
I think there's a thing in here that we're also missing. A nice guy can absolutely attract a beautiful woman, okay? But it's different, because the masculine is attracted to the feminine based on the aesthetics, the beauty, okay? There's no doubt about that. Feminine is attract based on the security. What can you provide for me? So if you have a really wealthy, nice guy, he's going to have hot women, just like a really beautiful woman is going to have high value men. Okay. The issue is that most nice guys aren't rich because of their nice guy behavior. They stay in, like, the whole nice guys don't finish last, they rot in middle management. The idea that our nice guy behavior actually keeps us back from being high value men. But if you are wealthy, somehow it may be either born into it, or, you're really good in business, but in your relationship, you're a nice guy, you're going to attract really beautiful women. So I don't know that distinguishes, like, can a nice guy attract a beautiful woman? I would say absolutely, because I hate to say it, but all the women I've been with have been beautiful.
Yeah, but he's only going to attract if he's
right. Same thing, right?
He's only going to attract beautiful women if he's wealthy. Only because, for example, if you've got a computer programmer who's worked out some amazing software, he sits behind his computer desk. I know some guys who've made
Elon Musk or.
Well, I know guys who've made some millions of pounds, right? And I've worked with guys. They sit in their pants, right, or boxer shorts, as we call them, right? They sit in their boxer shorts, eating crap, pizzas, drinking Coke, right? But they're whiz in business, and they're wealthy. They have a lot of money, but they have no girls. So if they have a lot of money and they have the status or social status to go with it, then they're going to start attracting a lot of women around them. So I know guys also who are nice guys, completely, they go out, they organize events, they're on yachts, they're on boats, they're on rooftop bars and things like that. Then these men have actually, where there's wealth and status, there's beautiful women.
I would agree. And I would also agree that, where there's beautiful women, there is wealth and status.
Absolutely. So, Ari, what was... now, are you able to recognize some of the traits of, say, the nice girl, and when you're going out dating? So when you do come across a nice girl, what do you do?
Like, I've dated some recently. I mean, I think that it depends on how much they've processed their nice girl tendencies. Just like we still may have some nice guy tendencies that come out, but like how much are they aware of them? How much can they reflect on them, or how much do they just play them out with us? And so it can take a little bit of time to tease that out. I mean, I think for me, I've always been attracted to women who are more bold and confident and set boundaries and knew their wants and needs and feelings and were connected to their body, so not the nice girl. But I haven't always been discerning and gone after that more integrated woman. And so I still fall into that. It might be because they're beautiful, or it might be just because I need to get to know them a little better.
So when we start going on the dating world, is one of the things I notice is a lot of times we're not, when guys don't have that many options, then they have a few options, and then they go, okay, you know what, I'll settle with this because there's nothing else around, so I'll tolerate this, and their tolerance is like, okay, I'll ignore the red flags until again it builds up as a resentment. It comes up. So guys, thanks for sharing, your views on this as well. And, I know that when it comes to the nice girl or nice guy syndrome, it is genderless. It's a human behavior for sure. These are some of the traits that all humans possess, some more than others. And one of the things I want to leave you with is that when we go out is, the more we work our own issues out, the better we will have in attracting and securing the kind of person on that level. Because there's one thing that I've seen is secure men or secure women do not mix with the unsecure or the fractured person, because they have such standards and filtering systems that they wouldn't want to engage with that. So that's the key thing is, work on yourself, because the people you have attracted in the past is a reflection of where you were. Now, if you enjoyed this podcast, check out podcast number 72. The truth is being vulnerable unattractive to women. Thank you again for being part of the Nice Guy Show. Please, if you're watching this on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe and help us reach more men who need to hear this message. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast platform, make sure you subscribe there as well. Leave a comment at theniceguyshow.com and get on our mailing list. Until then, we'll see you in the next one.
You've been listening to The Nice Guy Show with certified Nice Guy recovery coaches Ari Graff, Chuck Chapman, and Faisal Kokar. Be sure to subscribe to this channel so you can listen to our latest episodes, and visit us on www.theniceguysshow.com. If you have any topics you'd like to hear us discuss, send us an email at support@theniceguysshow.com. Thanks for listening.